Hello and welcome to another Offseason Outlook episode of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you? This blue is a little bright. That is a royal blue, baby.
It is. We're talking about the AL East, so I had to be on brand. I got a custom shirt that, if you look,
Oh, that's nice. One of the
Ben
true heroes.
Zobrist was only on the team for a half season, so I don't know if he got any T-shirts made of him. But I
Three
made a
World
custom
Series for Ben?
Two.
Two,
2015,
okay.
2016.
Okay, I thought Tampa Bay.
He didn't. Tampa Bay never won one. He was
Right.
in one.
Okay, got it. Yeah. It's played. Yes.
He's got some playoff experience. But we are not talking about Ben Zobrist today. If we are silly guys, I apologize. This day is filled with 8 back-to-back. If I got all 8, let me know. Recorded episodes that we will be releasing kind of daily this week. But this is our big recording day where we do all the off-season outlook for each division, and then we do our free agent prediction show. It's a really fun day for us. It gets a little wacky, gets a little silly up in here. So if there's any antics that are heightened, that's why. Dad, the off-season outlook again for people that are somehow just turning into us after 6 years, 150 plus episodes later. We go through each team's losses. I'll do that. And we go through each team's needs. That my dad will do. And then again, feel free if we say your favorite team and you're tuning in to talk about the Kansas City Royals and their blue shirts. Feel free to call what we missed out in the comments below. We also do think you know your teams better than we do. We're going to go in the order of how they finished. So sorry, Detroit fans. We're going to start with Cleveland, the surprise team that won basically every final game in September to make the playoffs. Didn't do much with it, obviously, but still had a miraculous run towards the end of the season. Dad, they didn't lose much. I do want to talk about Emmanuel Clase first.
I was going to bring that up.
They didn't lose much to free agency. How about that?
Yeah.
They lost 2 players to jail. Very rarely do I write jail. Usually it's like other team, traded, retired, jail.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting. They're facing like 60 years.
What a blow to the whole organization to lose players in that regard, and especially, playing a vital role. But, yeah, that's a huge hole to fill.
Do you think – so it wasn't money, right? Like, we're going to get off on here, fans, for a second. Him doing things for $5,000 or $10,000 bets, he was making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Do you think he owed people some money? Do you think he was part of some mafia, gang type of thing?
He could have owed a couple favors, yeah. That's definitely...
Why didn't he just pay it off with his own money?
Great question. I don't know the answers unless he got, he had a serious gambling habit that we don't know about, that he got, in a little bit of in trouble with and all that stuff, and that was the agreement to get him out of that situation. Hopefully it will come out and we'll get the whole story, but there had to be a reason why he did that.
With that said, the Guardians are off his contract. They always hover around $100 million or so a year in payroll. Very rarely do they push north of that. Coming in right now with those subtractions, with some more subtractions I'm about to say, they're about $70 million in their payroll. There's some arbitration numbers there. So they have about a $30 million gap to sign a few players. Who knows who they'll sign? That'll be my dad's job. But people like Ben Lively, Jacob Junis, John Means, Nick Enright, and Lane Thomas are all kind of gone. I don't know if any of those players are superstar power. Ben Lively got cut because he's out to summer with an injury anyways. So I don't think any of those people are in our top 50 free agents that we'll talk about. They did retain Austin Hedges, but Dad, go ahead with what they need.
Last year, the Cleveland Guardians averaged 3.9 runs a game. That's not going to cut it in Major League Baseball. So right now, that's their weakness, is scoring runs. And they've always done it with the defense and base running and, station to station, get them in through singles and doubles. I think they need a big influx of a little power, especially the outfield. I think they have a couple, openings that they could have some power hitting outfielders to help them score more runs. And again, bullpen has some openings they didn't count on. So between getting fortified on the offensive side and then probably replacing the bullpen arms, to me, that's the two biggest holes that they have. But again, they always seem to be in the front of the division just by playing the baseball they play. They're very good defensively. Got Stephen Kwan and everybody. But however, I think they really need to concentrate on offense, get some slug in there, and replace the bullpen.
Just to tease a little bit, when we do our top 50 free agent predictions, which I believe we upload those before we upload the Outlook series. I'll check what we did last year. I don't have any free agents signing to Cleveland. I think my dad's a little bit more optimistic than me. I think they'll still trade people. There's always going to be some outfield options available, especially corner outfielders or just little bops, little bats. Quan is in the rumors too. Like,
yeah, I know.
If they trade him, I don't know if the Cleveland that had this miraculous run at the end of last year will be the Cleveland we see in 2026. I chose to wear my prediction for the AL Central for this episode. I love watching the Guardians play, though. I normally always take the over on them, speaking of for Emmanuel Clase. But just little jabs. I don't have a lot of faith in this team, and I think if you are a Cleveland Guardian fan, you probably don't either. I just wish your ownership spent more money.
One of the most unheralded players in baseball, third baseman for
Jose Ramirez.
I mean, if you really watch him play, he would be a star any other city.
He loves Cleveland.
He does.
Yeah.
And he's signed long term thinking that whatever, but they need some protection for him in the lineup. But to watch him play is pretty special.
If Scott Rowland's in the Hall of Fame, Jose Ramirez is in the Hall of Fame. For real.
Yeah.
This man hits triples and steals bases still. He doesn't look like he's fast.
Yeah, and defensively he's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he doesn't look fast, but he can move.
Yeah. Dad, let's move on.
And he's got a nice little hook.
That'll always stay with him.
Yes.
That'll always stay with him.
Yeah.
Dad, let's move to Detroit.
Yes.
The team that coasted and then skidded and then did a flip to the finish line. They won a playoff series, which is great. But they were favored, I guess, to win the AL Central. And then they lost it, really just had the worst September imaginable. Sorry, folks. Let my dad silence that. I got you. There you go.
Sorry.
There you go. Let's go over their losses. I was surprised, first of all, that Gleyber Torres was offered the qualifying offer, and he took it, $22 million or so for a second baseman. That's quite surprising. He had a good year and all, but I would have taken like a 3-year 50 somewhere. So they kept Torres, which is great. They lost some pitching, both in the starters and in the bullpen. That was really their biggest. They didn't lose because they kept Gleyber. They really didn't lose any offense. But Chris Paddock, Alex Cobb, relievers, Tommy Kahnle, Rafael Montero, Kyle Finnegan, kind of a swingman starter, Jose Urquidy, Paul Sewald in the bullpen, and they did non-tender Andy Ibanez, which is like a utility guy. I clocked them to about $40 million to spend. They could spend more. Little Caesars gets a lot of money. But they seem to be cheap. The owner seems to be really, really cheap there. And it's not the Miggy Cabrera years where they're spending so much money. So I think they top out at about $40 million spent this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking yesterday. All the research that I did was the Tigers are one of the wealthiest franchises in baseball with that Little Caesars money. Again, they have, it's endless what they could spend and go over, the limit that they have for their system and everything else. Right now, I think the pitching is definitely in there. Skubal keeps coming up about, sign him long term, or there's even rumors that they trade him for a whole bunch. But he is a once in a lifetime power left-hander, but they need some pitching around him. They need some pitching in the bullpen, and I think third base is an opportunity that they can, get better with. A little power hitting, right-handed hitter at third base. I think that last offseason they went, hard on somebody who was a power hitting third baseman, just finished second to that bidding. I think this year they go after a power hitting third baseman.
No. I think the Tigers will be cheap. I think they'll trade Skubal mid-season, or
Wow.
I think it's going to be really bad in Detroit. I think they spend that $40 million kind of evenly across their needs. They kind of need either right fielder DH. They need like a fourth, fifth starter, and they need some bullpen help. That'll get you to $40 million, folks. They can't go out and sign Alex Bregman for $40 million. The Red Sox gave him that last year. The Tigers could have, right?
Yeah, they came close.
But not enough. I don't think Skubal gets an extension. I think he gets traded at the deadline. Again, wearing the blue shirt, not the orange shirt. I wouldn't be surprised if Skubal gets traded this offseason for something. I would do the trade for what it's worth. I would trade this amazing. If I'm not going to invest in the Bregmans and in the big names and in better, like it goes Skubal, big drop Casey Mize, big drop Jack Flaherty, big drop Reese Olson. So if I wasn't like a Cease player, if I wasn't a Framber Valdez player, and I'm looking at, what we'd really like to do for fans, we'd like to do a reunion with 43-year-old Justin Verlander or 42-year-old Max Scherzer. Cool, you'll sell a few tickets and some extra jerseys in like a reunion tour, but that's not really going to move the needle for you to get, a drive in the playoffs. So I would listen to Skubal, and I would take your first 5 prospects for 1 year of Skubal, which I don't know if anyone's going to give up, but the longer you hold on to them, the less that offer is.
But when they went through their dry spell late this summer, I think it was a combination of offense and defense. They were losing games 7-3. They weren't scoring enough runs to compete, and then their pitching didn't hold up, especially when you got to the 4-5 starters. So when that little dry spell happened, it was a combination of weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about some, youth movements already. Skubal to the Mets makes so much sense to me. They have money to go buy replacement players, but they can give a package of those infielders. They can give pitching, right? Like we talked about the youth movements of Nolan McLean and all that stuff. I don't think the Mets should do that trade, but that's an option. The Yankees are an option. Mm-hmm. If you want some outfielders, here's Dominguez and Spencer Jones.
You're correct.
Red Sox have the ability to also go get Skubal. So does the Dodgers. Like, there's so many options for.
Can you imagine Red Sox rotation with those 2 big left-handers, 1 and 2? You wouldn't win a series.
It's only 1 year of it, though. It's only 1 year.
But what a fun year. Can you imagine?
They would become the AL favorites pretty fast.
A weekend series of those 2 big left-handers?
No, you just prepare for Game 3. You just prepare for who? Yeah. Brian Bayo? Who we got?
Yeah. Wow, what a dream,
There are a lot of people that can do Skubal for a year, and then he'll hit free agency, and then it'll be a crazy. We'll talk this. That's who we're going to talk about next year. He's a Boras client, right? So he's not going to do an extension. Sorry, I would.
Well, he knows what he's worth.
I would trade Skubal, and the thing is, I would trade for Skubal, but I wouldn't sign him. I know that sounds so weird. A double Tommy John guy. I just don't think I'm going to give him that 7-8 year guaranteed contract. I'd rather do 3 years 150 than 5 years 200, or whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
So, but yeah, so I would trade for him for a year, but I wouldn't sign him for long term. So it'll be just interesting how that shakes out, and what the Tigers end up doing. Again, I think the longer you hold on to him, the worse your overall team is in 2028, 2029.
Yeah. They do have a pretty good farm system right now with a couple guys coming up, but they're position players.
Dad, let's move into the Royal Blue.
Yeah.
I think this third place Royals team needed to come in third, needed to miss the playoffs to be motivated for a 2026 run. You have the Guardians, you have the Tigers that made the postseason very at the last minute. Both teams were shaky. Oh my God, is there going to be one central team? What's happening? The Royals faded a little bit, still had a good year, but they need offense. They need someone other than Bobby Witt to play the game. They got some help from Pasquatch, some help from Sal Perez, and then it's a drop-off. If you're an outfielder, you're going to be connected with the Kansas City Royals this year. I'm going to let I got a little excited, Dad. I'm going to let you do the needs.
You're looking at my notes.
I guess I am. They lost Mike Yastrzemski, an outfielder that they picked up midseason to do this very thing. They lost Taylor Clark, Hunter Harvey, Some relievers there. Adam Frazier kind of played second base here and there. Michael Lorenzen, mostly a starter but has swingman abilities. Randall Grichuk, outfielder DH. Finally, non-tendered MJ Melendez. And Kyle Wright just has an injured history. 21 wins, 4 or 5 years ago, and just really hasn't been able to pitch since. In theory, the Kansas City should spend more than they can. That's great. You have Bobby Witt, and you have a really great pitching rotation, but I think you need to spend more money.
All the things you said are correct. I think power hitting outfielders are on the top of the list. Kubek is kind of like rumored out there to trade him for power hitting outfielders. But if you have, some AAA guys that are studs that play the outfield, especially maybe left-handed guys, the Royals may be listening. They need to trade one of their starters for get some more offense. You have kind of like Bobby Witt, and he had a phenomenal year, but you got to protect him. So above Bobby and below Bobby, they were suffering. They lost a lot of games due to lack of runs. And I think that was the frustrating part because the year before they were winning the 2-1 games, the 3-2 games, like they beat the Orioles in the playoffs. They didn't score a lot of runs, but defense and pitching got them to those wins. This year, they didn't do that. I think that was the big difference. So, again, I think this year it's about power and some outfield help and go along the way. And, they'll probably be in the mix because the Guardians and Tigers aren't that much better than the Royals.
Deb, what do you make of their big prospect, Jack Caglione? Had a terrible call-up, like that negative player when he was on the team for a little bit. What do you think of his future with the Royals, in the outfield? What do we think?
When he was at Florida, he was just an offensive machine.
Yep, 35 home runs 1 year at Florida.
Correct.
Batted .419.
That's all great stuff. I think if you ask PCA, he was doing so well, and then all of a sudden 2 years ago, he got called up mid-year. There's such a learning curve from AAA to the majors. Did he go through that learning curve and then he'll catch up like a lot of the good ones do? Gunnar Henderson had a learning curve. So is he going through the learning curve, or is he going to be one of those people that hit 300 with some pop? Only time will tell, but the only way he's going to get better is to play. So I think they're going to have to roll the dice with him, put him in a lineup, and hope for the best. But at Florida, he was terrific.
Yeah, I think he makes the squad out of spring training. He reminds me a lot of Roman Anthony. He's designed to be a first baseman. He also pitched in college a little bit. Either he becomes first baseman DH and Pasquantino and him just kind of, but I don't see him like getting the outfield role. Some of the negative value was not just related to his swing, but related to his glove. So I would get him out of the outfield, and I know you just have Kyle Isbell, a replaceable center fielder. You go get 3 outfielders. For real. Let Isbell go, trade him, make him a 4th outfielder. I don't care. Make Caglione your first base DH with Pasquantino. Just long names are at first base DH. That's a rule in this team. And if you have a short name, Witt, Isbell, India, Perez, you play somewhere else.
If you're Italian, you're going to first base.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We like the first basemen at Kansas City.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think every outfielder, we did not choose him as one of our top 50 replacements, but I think this is a great landing spot for Adolis Garcia. Rebuild some value, take a 1-year deal, 1 year with an option.
I agree.
Play right field. If he has any bounce back, talk about a nice support spot for Bobby Witt.
And he would play.
Oh, yeah, he would play immediately.
Yeah.
Also could play a little center. Remember, Adolis has that center ability.
Yeah.
But center right field, or you're in the left, just somewhere in the outfield, put anyone out there. But Adolis Garcia, I think, is certainly an option for this team in 2026.
It'd be a great fit. But again, I think the Royals GM is pretty bright. He knows what the holes are, but right now, from what I read, he's thinking of trading a surplus of like 1 or 2 starting pitchers for people, that are the AAA studs from, the Cubs organization and other organizations, making that trade 2 for 1, 3 for 1 for one of their ace pitchers. So filling one hole and, kind of getting another hole.
I saw trade rumors about Carlos Estevez. I mentioned that on a previous podcast. They could easily move Lucas Erceg to the closer role, get a replacement $2 million reliever, and let that contract go. Their contract, their payroll situation's interesting. That's why I said they should spend money. going into 2026, they're already at their salary. They're already at their total payroll they spent in 2025. A lot of that is due to some backloaded contracts. A lot of that is due to arbitration projections. So, in theory, they have to spend more because they have holes. They have no one playing the outfield, really. They have no one, at some of these spots. So they have to spend more than what they spent in 2025. I just don't know how much more. I said between 20 to 25. It should be more. I think this is going to be a lot of 1 year with an option situation, or we see a lot of trades. But it's still a fine team. And if the Tigers do end up trading Skubal, again, the Royals, I think, become the favorites to win that division. Dad, we had two teams that were pathetic, that we're probably not going to really talk about in our top 50 projections. The Twins, who I did call as completely getting rid of everyone on this roster, are the fourth place team. They still have actually people that play for this team, so there could be some trades.
I think they will be.
So they didn't lose a whole lot because they got rid of half their team in the middle of the season. But Christian Vasquez, nobody wanted him and his overpriced contract. He's a free agent. Towards the end, I don't know if Willie Castro, I think he ended up as a Cub.
He did, and didn't do well.
So I'll kind of say Willie Castro was associated with this team. Erasmo Ramirez, which was just a flyer pickup for them. Jose Miranda, and they let go Michael Tonkin recently. Dad, we know they won't be buyers. They might be selling the club. What's just the outlook? Maybe not even address the needs of this team, but what's the outlook of this team?
If you're like, Buxton and those guys, you're saying, get me out of here. What they did last year was just tear apart the club. And I'm thinking if you were left behind, you weren't thrilled about playing out that string, and they had a horrible second half. They really cleaned house at the trade deadline. Then they still have a few guys that they could trade. They may be, one of these teams that finish last next year, because I think they will end up, cleaning house. They got a couple starting pitchers. Apparently they're on the trading block. Ryan for one. But you kind of say to yourself, if they do trade for the players they have left that are tradable, then they really have a AAA team. And then where do you go from there? The people in Minnesota have to be very disillusioned about the direction of the team and their TV market and all that kind of stuff. They just kind of fell apart because a couple years ago they were kind of like in the mix, but now they're looking for last place finish.
I think last place finish is fair. I think the White Sox are improving. They improved from 2024 to 2025. In theory, they'll improve to 2026.
Yeah. And there's some players on the Twins that are, if you get them now and give them a breath of fresh air, Buxton for one, you're saying to yourself, man, I'm on a winning ball club. Let me play.
Yeah. I think Matt Wallner, when healthy, is a great player. I think Jeffers, and obviously Lopez and Ryan. Yeah. And at some point, you just got to ask, so when are you trading these people? They're not going to be part of the next movement. You're going youth, you're rebuilding. Why don't you just commit to it and get, more talent?
And their farm system's not great. So let's say they do trade for their stars. Whew, that's bleak.
Twins and Rockies. That'll be the bottom tier.
Seats are free. Come on in.
Come
There's
for free
no
day.
Charge.
Just buy us some concessions. I do think the White Sox will be better, Dad. This team also didn't lose a whole lot. Going into the offseason. They had Michael Taylor retire. Little Nat outfielder, center fielder with some glove. They let go Mike Tauchman recently. Mike Clevenger, Cam Bouger, little Red Sox fun name there, good story there, and Martin Perez are all gone. And Drew Thorpe, one of their replacement rookie pitchers, is out until May with, I believe, recovering from Tommy John. I still think, Dad, this team is a lot of 1-year contracts, but let's explore what they need to field a 65-win team, 70-win team.
The trade they made with the Red Sox last year, they got some decent players.
And starters on their team.
Correct. And I think that was a huge plus to get them started. They got a draft, whatever. The future is okay on the south side, but right now I think they need to trade Roberts for some more help. Right now they won more games than anyone thought. They second half they played pretty well. In fact, 1 month I think they finished 500. So right now you can see them getting better. They still need some more pieces along the way. I think right now, pitching is always, needed for a lot of teams. I think White Sox fit that category. They have young pitchers, but it'd be great to have somebody who's a veteran presence to kind of help them out. And I think they need to trade Roberts. But yeah, I think next year they may win 75 games. But yeah, that trade with the Red Sox, good trade for both parties.
And they're already getting calls on Teal and Cuero now because they do have 2 starting catchers.
Teal's a good catcher.
I think first base is a big hole for them. I think obviously getting rid of Talkman right field, if they could trade Robert center field, they have no bullpen. They really don't. If you asked any person outside Chicago, name me 2 bullpen arms for the Chicago White Sox for $100, I don't know if you're getting it. And I hope some of their rookie pitchers do click, and maybe like a star, like a Davis Martin or Jonathan Cannon, like emerge. But yeah, there's just a bunch of needs on this team. I still think Benintendi regrets signing there. Maybe that's a contract you can finally move.
Yeah, he had so much promise when he was with the Red Sox.
He just was defensively good. The Red Sox had Betts in the outfield, and then they had JBJ and Benintendi, who hit okay for a couple months in 2018. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But that was kind of it.
That's how he got his contracts.
Yeah. All right, Dad, that is the AL Central. Interesting. I don't have, just from memory, I don't know if I have a lot of people from our top 50 signing with these teams. I sure don't have anyone signing with the Twins. I think I have one with the White Sox, and I don't think I have anything from Cleveland.
Yeah, the only team with money.
East Coast Bias.
No, the only team with money that may is Detroit. We'll see what happens with that. But again, they know where their holes are. There's people out there that can fit those holes. We'll see if they're willing to spend some money.
All right.
The GM is going to be aggressive.
We're going to do the NL Central next, folks. Thank you all for listening. I'm sure I've said this a lot today, but give us a follow, subscribe. We are the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on YouTube and Facebook, and at Pastime Podcast _ on Instagram and Twitter. I'm okay. That wasn't that silly of an episode, Dad. We're doing all right.
Yeah.
On to episode 4 of the day.